Now let me first say this, and that this channel has grown so much since this time last year. And so with that in mind, this video is intended for the new subscribers here. Simply because I've covered these clips before with all of you who have been part of this channel for more than a year. Anyway, I hope that part's clear because one of you requested that I say this if I ever decide to do this. Now here's the table of content for your reference, and please pause this video if you need more time to go through this list. I'm going to cover a little bit on witchcraft in this video. I feel it's important that I cover this subject over and over again in order to raise awareness and warn people of the dangers, seeing how people are getting duped by these demons. And speaking of which, this witch here illustrates my point perfectly.
If a witch comes up to me and asks, is there a way that I can find a man who's a provider? I would say, work with a demon. I know a lot of people are going to be like, wait a second, that's not what I heard about demons. I heard that they're scary and they take your soul. But who told you that? Because unless they actually care about you living your best feminine energied life, I have a feeling that they were telling you things like demons are evil because they wanted to have control over you. Demons don't want to control you, unlike some people. Demons instead are concerned about your self-empowerment. Are there demons that actually deal with love and sex and things like that? Absolutely. Now, will you get a guy and then have him forever? Probably not. But while you have him, he's gonna spoil you and you're gonna have a great time. So it's my humble opinion that every single witch, doesn't matter what sort of witch, needs to know how to hex, needs to know how to throw a love spell, needs to learn how to heal, needs to do all the above. So having a demon in her back pocket, always a good thing.
We'll get back to the lies of the demons that the witch somehow for. But for now, let's start with partial versus perfect demonic possession.
This is going to sound a little bit frightening, but it's really true. There can be what we call partial exorcisms. Partial possession. The first thing is that in a partial possession, they're fully aware, but there can also be manifestations. I think of a person, for example, that I interviewed and I gave her a blessing when we were finished. I placed my hands on her head and she began to vibrate and shake and all kinds of stuff just from a blessing, all right? So there's a physical manifestation and she's aware that it's happening, but she can't control it, all right? So that's partial possession. Then there is full possession in which a demon will take over a person, and then in a certain sense the person will black out. And they're not aware of what they have done or what's going on during the time that the demon manifests itself, all right? Interestingly enough, that's connected oftentimes to something that I'm going to be doing some more research on, to the phenomenon known as dissociative identity disorder. The third element is there is a thing called perfect possession. And this is the one that's frightening, that most people don't know an awful lot about. Perfect possession is a situation in which an individual has freely chosen to give themselves totally to Satan. We know cases, for example, and I'm talking about one case right now that I'm involved with, where a priest had already given himself, he was a secret Satanist, a Catholic priest who was a secret Satanist, all right, gave himself totally over to Satan, all right. So Satan has possessed the person totally, but the person has chosen that freely, okay? It's not like they did something. They made a conscious choice to give themselves. That's perfect possession. Those people you wouldn't even know because they don't manifest in the way that other possessions occur. So, and unfortunately, the kinds of people who do that sort of thing are the people we would call positions of power. Yes. They're going to be doctors, lawyers, police officers, judges. Those are the kind of, and those are the ones who are in control in society that are making the decisions that are sending everything to ruin.
There's another case study I want to share with you here, and what they're saying in this video reminded me of a clip of Msgr Rossetti a while back. I'll share it after this one. And apparently these kids have never been inside this room for 6 years, and it has been locked up the entire time.
Is there cameras in there? Why would there be cameras? Is it Grandpa crazy? Oh, it's just a bedroom? Are you going in?
No, I'm getting a bad feeling about this.
I don't feel good. No, I don't.
This is why white people die in movies, bruh.
Nah.
Oh my god, I just got so lightheaded.
What is that?
Hang in there.
I just got
Corbin, don't be going through this stuff.
I just got so lightheaded. Oh my.
Yeah, I know. I got lightheaded as soon as I walked in here.
Yeah.
You are not welcome here.
Oh, my head's itching. I
If
think
there's
there's
any
lights
spirits
in here.
leave. You are not welcome. Oh, my back's burning.
Is it really?
Bitch, my back's
burning. I don't know.
Stop. Stop.
No, get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out.
Stop. You're giving me anxiety.
Oh my. You're kidding, right? You're kidding. Look.
By the way, if you were wondering, they're trying to drive the spirits away by burning sage, something we've covered together before, but we'll get back to it again sometime in the future. But for now, let me share this clip with you and compare what he said to what you've just seen in that video.
There are, probably demons in the room. I think all of us have some and may not develop it, that when you sense the presence of evil in the demons, not uncommon. And typically, you feel the darkness. It often makes you feel sick. You feel nauseous. Your stomach head's killing you. And when you're around evil, sometimes it can do that. Now, some people don't. They don't feel a thing. But a lot of people do. I would start throwing holy water and start saying the rite to get rid of these demons. For yourself, I think I'd throw some holy water and if you feel comfortable telling the family, well, you may want to have a priest come here and bless this room, then I would step quietly out of the room and close the door. Really want to expose yourself to evil things, which is why, for example, going to evil places is not a good idea because there's demons all over the place. You don't want to put yourself in harm's way.
And I've shared this clip of a real exorcism performed by Father Winston with you several weeks ago, but upon watching it again, it reminded me of Father José Fortea, something he said about what he usually encountered during his exorcism sessions. And I'll share that clip after this one. Listen to this.
I would like to show you of a CCTV footage of an exorcism of the closing of the occult third eye. There is no audio, just video. And we have received permission from the delivered victim of the occult third eye. I was anointing her forehead, the location of the third eye, with the oil of catechumens, and she immediately reacted to it. She touched her ears because she could hear voices and pain. She touched her stomach because she could feel pain in her stomach. Now she reacted because she could see, according to her afterwards, of evil spirits appearing before her. As I attempted to anoint her and continue on to pray over, she held on strongly to my hands, preventing me from touching her because according to her, my hands were burning with fire. This was the first pray over. That is an example that is fairly commonly experienced by us exorcists when we close the third eye of a person who has been active in using it.
Anyway, here's the clip I was referring to earlier. By the way, he's not an exorcist anymore. He's retired and he's not allowed to give new interviews by his bishop. I thought you should know that.
Many people think that in exorcism all the time are happening preternatural phenomena. But that's not true. Usually the demonic possession is just as is described in the Gospel. If you read the Gospels, in that simple way is demonic possession. But even in the Gospel appear some cases that go farther than standard possession. Sometimes happen very strange things that we cannot explain by natural laws. I have seen, for example, to do a question with my mind, and after 2 minutes, the demon inside the possessed person answering that question. I have asked things in different languages, especially Latin, and even children, they understand the question, and they answer exactly, specifically what you have asked. I have seen in a case that demon knew the whole Bible by memory and by chapter and verse. But what is more shocking for everybody is levitation. In all these years and so many cases, only twice happened in the chapel that the possessed person levitates from the ground, yes, something like that. But you have to see hundreds of cases to witness that. Most of the time is just what appears on the Gospel. Is a person that after doing some esoteric act, something related to esotericism, began to change completely in some minutes every day, with other face, with other voice. And when he finished, he said, "What I have to say, I did not want to do that." And if even appear repulsion to holy things, holy water, crucifixes, going to mass, because they feel bad, physically bad, then you have enough suspicion to think that it can be demonic possession.
Remember I shared a little bit of this young man's story with you a few weeks ago? Now there's a clip on trauma by Father Carlos Martins that comes to mind whenever I hear people sharing their dark, traumatic past, like this young man here. So let me play this again for you, and we'll get to that clip of Father Martins after this one.
I just got to the point, when I was doing the Ouija board, it just made things, like I was doing the drugs, it was making it worse. But then once I started doing the Ouija board, it made it 10,000 times worse. Like I was constantly in a constant state of sorrow, anxiety. I couldn't even look at anybody in the eyes because I was just so weighed down by shame and guilt and the dark things that I was doing. I felt like nobody loved me. That all I had to offer was like what I could bring to somebody, and then they would hang out with me. And it was kind of out of desperation, seeing my sister find this peace, that I was just like, you know what? Why not? If there was a chance that I can find some sort of peace and some sort of reason for being, as like weird as it is, like in Christian cliche as it is, like when it says that God gave me a purpose, I had no purpose. And so when I gave my life to the Lord eventually, and like that was the greatest feeling that I had ever felt in my life, knowing that my life had some sort of meaning, because I had gone my entire life not thinking that I meant anything to anybody. And to know that God loved me enough to give me some sort of calling and assignment meant so much to me.
And let's listen to this clip of Father Carlos Martins that I was referring to earlier. He's one of the few priests I've listened to a lot. I learned a lot from listening to him. Anyway, here you go.
When I'm presented with a case, I have a questionnaire that I have the person fill out, if the person is capable of it. If not, I have the family members or maybe a close friend fill it out to try to give me as much information as possible. What I'm looking for are wounds, because demons live in wounds. I'm making up a scenario. Right? Timmy and Joey are playing catch on the street. A car slams into Joey, knocks his head clean off his body. The world is now a completely different place for Timmy. It's not a safe place. It's not a happy place. It's a place where little kids playing catch on the street, having fun, can have something so horrific done to them that you can't forget it. No one stopped it, and no one can undo it. So regardless of Timmy's belief in God, whether he even has a belief in God, his theological view of reality is completely changed in that moment, right? No one was powerful enough to prevent that or to undo it. The world is not a good place. It's not a safe place. Now, let's add a little bit more to the story. Let's say Timmy was the one who knocked on Joey's door that morning and asked him to come out to play. How do you think he feels? And let's say he was the one, which he would have been the one, to throw the ball over Joey's head unintentionally. Maybe he even did it intentionally, just to have fun, like, hey, I'm going to go make you chase the ball. And then the accident happens. What do you think that's going to do to him? It's going to put him in a dark place, right? It's a really life-changing moment. The devil is going to exacerbate that. He's going to manipulate that in order to bring Timmy into a place of bondage. Trauma is debilitating because it distorts our view of reality. It causes us to believe lies. And what would be the lies? Well, that I took somebody's life, he is never coming back, I don't deserve to be happy, that death is final. There is no coming back from death. So all of those things, that incredibly horrific self-image that Timmy is going to develop, the devil's going to be all over that.
Now here's another priest that I also learned a lot from, Father Vincent Lampert. And Father Lampert, just like Father José Fortea, is also not an exorcist anymore. Anyway, in this particular clip, he talked about how he encountered a manifestation of a demon.
I had a lady one time who came to see me. People always like stories. And she came with this priest. And she's telling me that she had been praying in a cemetery, conjuring up spirits and ghosts, and she became possessed. So she's telling me, and then she said, "Oh, I need to use the bathroom. Can I use the bathroom?" And she was at the church. I said, "Well, down the hallway, there's a restroom. You can go there." And then I was talking to the other priest, and then we hear this howling scream come from the bathroom. And we go down there, we open the door, and the demon is manifesting, had bit the lady's lip, blood is pouring out of her mouth, and took her hand, put it in the blood, and drew a pentagram on the mirror in the bathroom. And then we open the door and the blood is dripping and the demon is like, and then I see the pentagram on the wall and I think, I have another appointment in 2 hours.
And speaking of manifestation of demons, as shared by Father Lampert in that clip, there's a short clip of Father Ripperger I want to share with you. It's about 3 minutes long, but it's useful in a way to explain in more detail what Father Lampert saw in that restroom.
How demons manifest. He makes the observation that they manifest in a way that's proper to the characteristics of their nature. So there's some feature, some aspects to them that's going to be pronounced or be recognizable that gives you a sense of who and what they are. So, and this is true not just of angels, but it's also true of demons. With demons, sometimes the facial features or certain things are a bit exaggerated, and sometimes it has to do with the specific choice that they have. Which basically means that every demon that manifests is different. Their personalities, because the essence of each angel is different from another. That means literally their differences in personality and who and what they are, their natures, is as different as a grasshopper is from a cow. That's how drastic their personalities are much, which come through in the manifestations, are much more marked and distinct than human personalities, which tend to be pretty soft in comparison. They don't have the types of exaggerated, is not quite the right word, but the more extreme characteristics. So that being said, every single one of them that manifests differently. And so you'll see them. And once in a while, after you've worked with them for a while, you can just, when the sessions begin, if you've been working with the person for a while and the demon is, because sometimes before the session even begins, the demon's half manifested because he's irritated and tore up that he's got to sit here and take this beating. So you can just look at the person and say, okay, he's ready to go. And just by the way that they can half manifest, they can manifest by degrees. So a lot of times when they fully manifest, that's when you'll see the person, like if it's a woman, she'll change into the figure. It looks like a man. People say, well, are all demons males? Well, technically speaking, angels don't have gender. However, they do manifest as men. And the reason they manifest as men is because of the fact that it has to do with leaving the impression, the image of strength, which is actually what angelic nature actually is. And so the only time that you tend to see demons manifesting as women is if they're to seduce. So as a general rule, they always appear as men. And then those characteristics, as I mentioned, can be very different. So one of the guys I've dealt with in 3 separate cases is Beelzebub, which is another name for Satan. And Satan, when he appears under Satan or Lucifer or Beelzebub, he'll appear differently. But whenever he appears under Beelzebub, it always looks the same. And which is basically the jaw becomes extended, the top of the head narrows, the eyes become bloodshot, the color of the person will instantaneously change completely red. And so that's when you see so as soon as you see that change, you just say, okay, this is who it is. But it's by varying degrees. So how they manifest is determined based upon their characteristics. So each one is a little bit different. There are times in which they'll even appear as animals and things of that sort, and that's usually to emphasize a particular aspect of the possession or something in relationship to the case, or some aspect of his personality, but that's generally how they do. So it's very different. Each one is very different.
So that's all for the video this time, and don't forget, the link to the original video of every clip I shared with you in this video, you can find the links in the description box below. And thank you so much everybody for your continuous support of this channel, and I hope all of you have learned a lot every time you're here. And if there's any feedback or constructive criticism that you might have, please don't hesitate to let us know in the comments below. Until the next one, thanks again for watching, and may God bless you.